Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. As Robert mentioned, this is a success stories panel. So unlike yesterday's early morning panels, there'll be no bones of contention. There'll be no grades at the end or arguments over who did what the best. These are all just beautiful success stories from this year. And hopefully they'll inspire people in the room to be able to take these things back in and at least start a creative conversation with your people about what you could do at your track or in your business to increase the success. And I think the presentation that Nathan just did was a very good indication that this is 100% possible through ways that we've never considered before. So I'm going to introduce my panelists first. At the end, Ian Cummings, he's the founder and CEO of Third Time Games, also known as Third Time Entertainment. In the middle, Brian Pettigrew, Vice President and General Manager of the Texas Racing Operations for Penn Entertainment Incorporated. And next to me is Ashlyn Moore, Vice President of Equestrian Operations at First Racing. We're going to begin, each of them have a presentation, so we're going to begin with Ian Cummings, who will give you a presentation about what he's doing. Not only is he the founder and CEO of Third Time Games, now he actually started working for EA, Electronic Arts. I think it's actually Electronic Addiction, but they go with arts. While still in college, he was a game tester, and he was one of the first games that he tested was Madden NFL. He went on to serve as the creative director for Madden NFL 10, 11, and 12, and Ian is the one who developed the well-received and very popular hit stick on the Madden game. He left EA in 2011 and started Third Time Entertainment in 2015, and in between, there were other gigs in gaming, but ultimately, you're here today because the Racing Symposium really admired your photo finish live. It's described by you as the most authentic horse racing game and ecosystem where players can make real money on virtual horses, and it was one of the games that Nathan talked about just a moment ago. So Ian, take it away.
Thank you. There it is. So I will stand up, it's a little easier. It's amazing seeing Pretty Derby. I guess I should have made an anime girl horse game. I tried my best, but the second column, that's my game, Photo Finish Live. So I am the founder of Third Time. I did work at EA Sports for a long time. Our studio is an official license holder with Churchill Downs and the Kentucky Derby. And I'm here today really to talk a little bit about photo finish has kind of quietly become one of racing's success stories. I think we've done a really good job at attracting young fans and finding a new audience altogether. And, oh yeah, I do need the clicker, thank you. Yeah. Which one? Top middle, okay. But before I get into that, I think this really dovetails with Nathan's pitch here. I want to share a little bit of a story. So I grew up in a small town in Tennessee. Long before we had an NFL team. There were no Titans, there was no Red Zone channel, there was no internet, there was no access. And if you wanted to know anything about the NFL or professional football, you really kind of had to imagine it. You had to go get the newspaper until one Christmas, I got my copy of Madden. And you're welcome for that picture. I sacrificed my dignity for all of you to really feel like I was a credible speaker. But with Madden, a whole universe opened up to me. Nerdy kid, as you might imagine. I learned rosters, I learned playbooks, I learned rivalries, I learned stadiums, and I knew depth charts of teams that I'd never once seen on TV. These games didn't entertain me, they also educated me. And I became a Giants fan, for example, purely because I got a lot of sacks with Lawrence Taylor. I still own a Mark Bavaro t-shirt from that era. Any Mark Bavaro fans? No? There we go. But so one of those kind of really crazy full circle moments. Here's some random old video from way back in the day. I did land a job at EA Sports. I was still in college. I worked my way up to the creative director of Madden. I spent 10 years building that game, and it really taught me the same thing of just sort of football as a game can on-ramp a whole new generation, just like any sport can. And when I left EA to start my own studio, it was really about that same message, that same knowledge, that to be true to the sport and new fans can be made along the way when you provide a unique experience in a video game. So we built a mobile game. It wasn't on this list because this came out in 2015, but you saw a lot of similar stats to what Nathan showed, which was extreme high amount of players, so 15 million downloads of that game. We were rivaling Madden, which was wild. You know, I think a lot of people would love to have a horse racing game as successful as Madden. We had that at the time. And the pattern really repeated itself. You saw it in Nathan's stats. 80% of those players were under the age of 40. It was a very even mix of male and female. As we sort of moved into the real money side of things on the games, you know, we started to see a lot of these people did not have a connection to horse racing, and they were just investing and getting more into it. This is one of my favorite ones of a guy that has spent, you know, 6+ figures on digital horses who had no idea how the sport worked. We had a big meetup at the Derby. Many of them were asking me how to place bets. They had no, what's an exacta? You know, they had no idea. These guys were there, had flown from Singapore to figure it out. So again, a new generation learned through play, right? This is how you can get a lot of people into a sport through a video game. And as that audience matured, you know, they were really getting more into the real money side. That's what led us to Photo Finish Live. And I will talk just a little bit about that. That's why I'm here as the success story. So Photo Finish Live launched in April 2023. It has processed over $55 million in racing, $45 million in sales, so it just crossed the $100 million mark, which is still wild to me on digital horses. I mean, these people are selling and buying and racing for real money and have done so at quite a large scale, much more than our previous mobile games. And this is, you know, why this matters is it's not theoretical anymore. You know, this is really like an actual proof point that these are real users at real scale, and it's impossible to ignore. Young fans do love the competition and the adrenaline of racing. And I think what's happening, though, is they do not love the systems around the real sport. And I'll talk about that a little bit. I might have frozen here. So there's something around this notion of modern fidelity. And you can ask any college student or young person, every year sports gets cooler. There are more and more cool things happening in real sports with data, with analytics, with 3D graphics, you name it. So I grabbed these two things just as a show. The ESPN show reel of college football's branding versus a race that's happening, not to pick on any track or anything. One single camera shot, never changes. You don't know who the horses are. You can't see them. The graphics are extremely outdated. Fonts are from the 90s. You know, this is stuff that, again, like a normal young person will tune out. These aren't minor inconveniences. They're friction points. And this is a generation, you have to recall, that is raised on video games. They are into instant updates. They want the clean interface. They want live data everywhere. They trade stocks. These people gamble at insane rates. They actually trade meme coins. They bet inside every app that's out there. Every day a new person turns 18 and gets into FanDuel or gets into Robinhood, right? And so I think they just get to that point where they expect this modern fidelity in everything they touch. And when racing doesn't behave like that, the rest of their digital world, they're going to not complain, they're just going to disengage. They're just not going to stay with it. And it's really funny, though, how as a video game developer, I'm really not all that different from the track operators. You know, I have the same question that everyone does, which is, who's going to fund my purses, and where are the next generation of users going to come from? But there's three things that give me hope. And there's proof that you can see even Pretty Derby. They are out there. Number one, they're there. Number two, they like the sport. They love the competition. Those are the things that I know for a fact are true. And so for me, the solution was not to reinvent racing. Maybe I should have. Maybe I should have gone anime horse girl. But I stuck with the authenticity angle of making horse racing as real as I could make it. And trying to make that in a new layer, though, a new presentation layer that actually made a system that these users were accustomed to. This is just an example. You know, we do simulations, for example, for NBC, for the Derby itself. These types of 3D simulations we can do at any time. We make them and show the race in different angles and in different ways that other people can't. And these are the types of things that I think the modern fan is used to. So all this to kind of lead into the real money side. As our real money ecosystem scaled, we saw the same problem that you all are seeing, which is lack of transparency on the tote, the lack of ability for people to see odds updates in real time. And so we actually built our own system, and I thought it'd be cool to share with some of you all because I think it's actually applicable to the same problems that you're solving. We called our system OpenTote, and this wasn't a business strategy. This wasn't any kind of move for me to go topple the giant multi-billion-dollar industry. It was just the foundation for our game to be responsive and to be credible. And so, for example, our OpenTote system processes 50,000 transactions per second. They're live, publicly shown on the blockchain, fully transparent. This utilizes stablecoin infrastructure, things that can really bring the response to the next level for the end user, because that's what they're used to, 40 millisecond return times for them to know the odds updates as opposed to 30 seconds, the things that are actually happening in real life. And the transparency of betting volume. You can actually see with our tote when late money comes in. You would know a CAW has landed, and you would be able to see that. And what that also does is really compelling graphical treatments. So if you look at the bottom, that's our odds updates, for example. They're actually happening in real time with spark lines and charts. I just think so many of us are sort of accustomed to how horse racing presents itself. When you walk by and you look at the 4 boxes with the colors and you say, oh, okay, that's a 2 and that's a 7 and that's a 9/5, I think we're just used to that. And you have to realize that that's a really big turnoff for a lot of people that are used to DraftKings or FanDuel or that high-end sportsbook. And so the presentation layer, I think, has just really fallen behind the times. And so I'm here today really just for that reason, talk about Photo Finish Live. I'll wrap up here. I genuinely believe that the future fan of horse racing is created in digital environments first. And just like I was with Madden, just like Nate was and all the people he talked about with Pretty Derby, the games are really where that curiosity becomes the understanding becomes the fandom becomes the participation. And if any of this resonates, just want to continue a conversation with me, please feel free. I'd love to meet with folks in the real industry. I've been in the digital side forever. Hit me up on LinkedIn, drop me an email. Thank you.
Ian, before I let you go, first of all, I want to make a quick comment. One of the other things that he did with Photo Finish Live that's pretty genius is he realized that pretty soon his horses were going to run out. So he started introducing pedigree, and so now he's got people on the interface who are breeders, and they don't necessarily race horses. And so he's made it so that you can stay in there for the long haul. But I do have a quick question for you. With Churchill Downs, how did that come about? Because it's sometimes hard to get a relationship with these upper-level racetracks. Did you approach them, or did they approach you?
Yeah, the Churchill relationship was a long slog to get that to actually happen, but it really started with the NBC deal. So being able to do those simulations for NBC gave us credibility, and that got me the meetings, and then it took 18 months of meetings to convince them that I was the right partner. So yeah, definitely difficult, but I think the Madden background, the NBC deal, that was really, just showing that we would treat the brand with respect.
And was any of that your goal when you started, or was that just, it evolved to that?
Yeah, just organic, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice. All right, thank you, Ian.
Yeah.